you've got these cool films. You've got a couple of shorts that you've done that we're assuming, and I know there's some of the stuff you can't talk about, that we're assuming are going to get picked up and turned into some series because they've got some really dynamic characters in them. I think of the ones that I've watched, I love Varnell, and I'll mention that one because it's the one that's easiest for our listeners, our viewers to access because it's on YouTube.
Yes.
So you just spell it Varnel, and it's about 15 minutes long.
Yes.
But it's a story about a guy and his friends, and the dialogue is great, the acting is phenomenal. But it sucks you in because it feels so authentic.
Yeah, it's very authentic. So Varnell, the best way to get it is go to YouTube. But Varnell corporate America is a joke.
Yeah,
you'll be able to find it quicker. Yes, it's a very authentic film because it's based on a true story, events that are actually happening and events that has happened. A lot of those actors in it actually took that leap of faith and quit their jobs. And now acting full time, as you can see, and he's a great actor, by the way. And then one of the guys in it, he's a real sports agent. So the whole story is kind of true to script. Just having fun with it or whatever.
That's awesome. And it's been one that I've watched with a few people now,
yes.
And they all really dig it because the conversations that the guys have in that short are the same ones that we have with our buddies.
Yes.
That's like, oh, no, I did this. And you're like, well, that's dumb. And then the next guy's coming in and is like, no, you got to chase your dream. And he's like, no, I just told him it was dumb. Why are you encouraging him to be dumb? Yeah. So that it just it just felt like you were getting to watch other people hang out, which.
That's right.
Yeah. Which was really cool. But before we let you go, I really want to get into the stuff with Chef Eddie G.
Me too.
So how did you and Eddie G get together? How did you guys come up with this bizarre idea? Because if you haven't seen the show, it's on Amazon Prime. You can stream it there. I'd encourage you. It's a fun show to watch with your family, and it's sort of and I don't want to pigeonhole it, but it fits into this weird void that was sort of left by Anthony Bourdain, who did this magnificent thing. But towards the end of his show, it was really about all the places that he went to go visit. Whereas Chef Eddie, I feel like, takes the travel aspect of it, and then he adds this sort of bizarre element of personal challenge where he's going to go to, like when he goes to Guadalajara. You guys go to Guadalajara, Mexico, which I'm totally fascinated that was the place that you guys picked to go for a number of reasons, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Narcos.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think of. Is I'm like, okay, that's great. So I see that you guys are in Guadalajara on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm like,
out in the opiate
fields.
And
I immediately put down my phone. I'm like, dear Jesus in heaven, be with London and whoever this chef Eddie G is, who's obviously a bad influence on him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. But he goes to these places that highlight the culture, that highlight the local markets, and then he takes on this weird personal challenge of, I am going to take all of your ingredients and cook for you an authentic meal in my style and then give it to the locals to see whether or not they're like, no, this is terrible, or whether they like it, which seems like a really unnecessary way to put yourself out there.
Yeah,
that's like a vulnerability that I don't need in my life.
I know.
So like whenever I, hey, French people, I'm going to improve upon your words here real quickly. Yeah. So that just seems like a complete, just bizarre concept, but it's really cool. So how did you guys come up with it? How did you guys get together?
Yeah, we actually, he's probably one of my second projects out of film school.
Okay, yeah.
Actually,
so you just had success right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
What a jerk.
I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Do you want to executive produce our show?
Yes, I got you covered. We're on a roll. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Actually, I met him through a mutual friend. A mutual friend told me, hey, you need to check out Chef Eddie G's kitchen. He's a chef. He did some stuff with the Food Network. You really need to take a look at what he's doing. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the kitchen. I went to his restaurant, ate the food. The food was amazing. And I was like, man, this is a pretty cool guy. And I walked in. The place was like built to film in. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind me filming something here? He was like, what do you want to do? I actually filmed the scene of Black Funk at Chef Eddie G's kitchen.
Shut up. That's awesome.
And it was funny. He said, yeah, you can film in my kitchen, but if you want to feed them today, you got to buy my food here.
There you go.
You know, it was a win-win for both of us. So we filmed that scene. He actually made a cameo appearance in Black Funk that he said his mother would probably never be to see.
You can show her the clip.
Yeah,
I was in a movie.
I can show her the clip, you know. So at that point, he was telling me about some other stuff. We started spitballing ideas, and I noticed that he was like working on this thing. It was called 21st Century Locavore or something like that.
Okay.
And I told him, we kept going back and forth, and I was like, you know what? Why don't you just call it Chef Eddie G Locavore?
Yeah, there you go.
We just went back and forth with it. Is who you are, you know?
Yeah.
Cooking, and we just kind of hit it from there and started with just me, him, and the camera. Traveling the world, you know,
which is awesome.
And as you can see, the episodes will get better because the crew got bigger.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit beforehand. Is that it was a new experience for everybody?
Oh, yeah.
You had come from heavily scripted, feature film, short television background to now a more freeform documentary
unscripted,
style.
yes.
Like if something happens, you keep the camera rolling and roll with it instead of say, you don't stop.
You know, it's so funny that you say that because there's a lot of stuff that hits the editing floor that I wish would show.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that you never even think about, things that happen in the background, those type of things. And when you're making those decisions to edit it, and it's really all about whether or not you're trying to fit within this 28-point, minute blocks or, 58-minute block, of a time. You got to leave a lot of stuff out. But I always told him, I said, if we do it again, I want to be able to leave some outtakes, do like a whole episode on the outtakes.
Yeah, like at the end, like here's the stuff that you missed
like
from
what
that
really
season.
happened.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, like when people, it was one episode we filmed in Sacramento, and we was filming an episode on them harvesting marijuana.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
So we got there, and then Chef was like,
Martha Stewart would love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we got to, and this is in Sacramento, California. So we was driving up to this ranch to film this whole scene, and the guy was like, "Oh, y'all can see this marijuana field," and we was like, "Okay, great." So when we get there, these guys come out of the hills on 4x4s, and I was like, "Oh my God, we about to get killed!" they had on these masks before COVID was cool.
Oh dang!
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's an episode that probably would never air. You know, but there's certain things that we just won't do as well. But sometimes with filming, we get invited to do stuff, and we're like, "Okay, what is that? Well, that'd be cool to film." But at the same time, some stuff is only made for Vice and not the cooking channel,
I was going to say that. How do you incorporate all right, so I took this ingredient and it's marijuana, and I'm going to make this huge spread with it.
Well, you got cooking with cannabis, you got stuff like that.
You can.
Right.
Yeah, you got stuff like that you can do. But that really wasn't really a part of our show format, but we was just kind of doing
That's
it. That's
kind of what I was getting at. It's like, this isn't exactly...
Yeah, it don't really fit what we're doing, but I'm going to film it. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to film anything.
Right. Like
that would make a fascinating
we're gonna
bonus episode.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put it in the can, but at the same
time.
Sell
it with the DVD set.
There you go. There you go. So certain things that we just don't feel like it's part of our repertoire to do. But, that was one episode that the guy told us, he said, "Hey, y'all want to go film my cannabis farm?" I was like, "Oh, really?"
It's incredible how, like, we've experienced this on the podcast, is that when we say that we have a podcast, you walk around someplace with a camera and you look like you're official with a film crew.
There you go.
People will agree to stuff or ask you to come do things that you really have no business or responsibility to.
There you go. There you go.
Like, do you want to come see my weed farm? You're like, we can't use this, but
yes, I want to see it. I've never been to one, but I'm going to come see it.
I want to look at your hydroponic operation.
Man, it was like when we came out there, the field, it was literally probably about, I would say it had to be about 30, 40 acres of marijuana plants.
Oh my god!
And I was like, I've never seen it. I was like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it was funny to film it. You would think that would be in the Mexico episode,
right?
But it wasn't. Yeah. It was right in California.
It was a California episode.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
we run into stuff like that to where some things that will probably never be shown because that's not what we do.
Right.
But we do. Sometimes we're filming and then we run across things. One thing that's never happened to me, but it's happened to some of my colleagues that's traveled the world. to where they've witnessed crime, true crime.
Oh, dang.
Yes, in the middle of them filming, and then the police or the local authorities were like, "Hey, we need your footage." Yeah, that's never happened to me
I
yet.
got to copy it real quick.
No, sometimes they take your footage. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then you be like, "Okay, that's my whole show." But hey,
Dang.
yeah, if something happens on tape, so you got to be prepared for that. So it's different things that I learned, especially traveling to different countries, to where you got to be ready to have a backup of a backup at all times.
Yeah, you're like rolling with the 2 SD cards, filming the same thing.
And when they want it, you say, "Here."
Yeah,
you give them one card.
You give them slot B, and you're like, slot B doesn't always work, but I'm not losing this show.
There you go. So you got to be ready for things like that. Yeah.